The Art of Leadership Network.
Well, hey, leaders, welcome to the Lead Culture Podcast, a part of the Art of Leadership Network. I'm your host, Jenni Catron, CEO of the Foresight Group. We're a company dedicated to helping leaders develop thriving teams. Each week, I'll be your guide as we explore practical strategies to equip you with the tools you need to lead with clarity, confidence, and build unstoppable momentum in your organization. My mission is to be your trusted coach, empowering you to master the art of self-leadership so you'll learn to lead yourself well so you can lead others better. Each week, we take a deep dive on a leadership or a culture topic. You'll hear stories from amazing guests and leaders like you who are committed to leading well. So let's dive in and keep learning on this leadership journey together. Well, friends, today I am joined by a good friend of mine, Randy Cochran. Randy is the Senior Executive Pastor of Central Pastoral Development and Worship at Victory Church in the Atlanta area. And Randy and his wife, Sherry, have become really good friends in a short bit of time in that they're just the type of people who inspire me, encourage me, challenge me. And then we've had the privilege of working together. And so, Randy, thanks for joining me. I'm excited to dive in today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me today.
So fun. So fun. We're going to talk about the power of assessing your culture. And the fun thing for me, Randy, is we got connected because of the privilege of doing some culture work with Victory. And then I just quickly found that you are a culture champion. Like, you are one of those people who wakes up thinking about how do we invest in the health of our teams. And so became fast friends around that shared passion. But maybe before we jump into that, tell us a little bit more about Victory Church, your role there. Just give us a little context for what your leadership world looks like.
Yeah, for sure. Victory, we're 35 years old. The church was founded 35 years ago with a very specific vision to bring racial reconciliation. And being here in Atlanta, obviously a very central part of the civil rights movement and things of that nature. And our founding pastor was actually just had a burden to see this 11 o'clock hour become not a segregated hour, but an hour that people join together from all different kinds of cultures. And in 1996, the Olympics came to Atlanta. And when the Olympics came to the Atlanta area, the world came to the Atlanta area.
Yeah.
And so it went from racial reconciliation to cultural reconciliation. And we're a church, a multi-site church. We have 4 locations, and then we have an online expression as well. But we have 140 nations represented in our church body. So that is both beautiful, and it causes you to really have to grow on the inside, to lay your culture down to more of the kingdom-minded culture. And so, and just a few years ago, we shifted our senior leadership, and that kind of put us into some really spaces of redefining who we are as a church and things of that nature. So not redefining everything, but really like, who are we going to be under our new senior pastors? And so it's been a really interesting season and a good season, and challenging in some ways and very fulfilling in other ways. And so, but that's who we are. That's where we are in our journey.
Love it. Love it. And I failed to mention, you're a brand new grandpa.
I am a brand new grandpa.
What's your Papa? I was going to say, what's Papa. The actual name? Okay, Papa.
Yes, I'm Papa.
I couldn't let that
it's the
go.
Best title I've ever had. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so fun. Just there's such a fun season. So I couldn't let that pass.
Well, thank you.
But what I love about Victory is the 140 nations that are represented there, and just the remarkable job you guys have done. But it doesn't come without some challenges of trying to figure out, how do we really connect with people of all different backgrounds. And so you guys do just such a beautiful job around that. And I love that you also just noted the senior pastor transition a handful of years ago, because I think this is one of those, I call it one of those inflection points where it's really important that we pause and say, okay, who are we and how are we working together now?
Yes.
Senior leader has so much influence over it. And while you said, again, the beauty, the legacy, the history of Victory was being carried forward, your senior
Yeah.
pastor Johnson was like the new senior pastor, like he's there because he loves and believes in that mission and vision.
Yeah.
And yet new leaders, it's a critical moment for us to pause and assess who are
Yes.
we now? What does this next era of, in your case, Victory look like?
Yeah, it was definitely something that we intentionally did. And obviously, when you go into a massive transition like that, you don't know what you don't know, and which is a lot, actually. And how is this going to play out? And how is this leader going to lead versus the former leader, and so on and so forth. But we did stop. We did slow down and say, hey, let's establish the vision of who we are. But I think the thing that we did that was the most helpful was we really said, what are the values that we're going to operate by? Because the vision didn't really change, but the values and that expression across the staff, we did see some transition in that way of thinking, which was really a longer process than I think any of us thought it would be to just identify those. Lots of discussion around those things. But I think we finally came to a place where we said, we all feel really good about this is our values. This is how we're going to go about our day to day working with one another and our congregation. And so that was a real breakthrough moment for us, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you guys did spend such intentional time there, because, so remind me, how many locations, how many staff?
We have 4 locations. We have about 200, right around 200 staff members.
Yeah. And just to give people context of, I think it's helpful to understand that's a big group, so 200 staff, but thousands of volunteers and then tens of thousands of attendees. Yes. And, like you said, it took a little longer than you even thought. One of the things that surprises leaders a lot is it takes work to find language that is clear and everybody understands, right? So we can throw out some values, and the values that you had previous were probably wonderful and great. They were wonderful and great.
Sure.
Now under new leadership, there's some nuance, there's some tweaks, right? Your new senior leader has things that are deeper and core to their vision and their personal passion and how they want to lead through this season. Yeah. And so finding the right language for that takes some time and takes some work. So I just love that you kind of called that out. Let me back up for a little bit, because I think I might know the answer to this, but why did you guys decide to spend more intentional focus on your culture? You were doing some of these things already of, being thoughtful about the transition with new leadership, et cetera. But what were some of the reasons that you said, we want to double down and actually get really intentional about defining our culture and leading our staff well?
Yeah, I think there was really two major things for us was to define the culture and really kind of double down on that. And then how do we socialize this new values, and how do we get it into the heart of our staff where we're seeing it basis? And so I think once we had identified our values, it really highlighted to us the need to hey, we can't just say this a couple of times and then move on. We can't just put a thing on the wall and say, hey, that's good, and we've done it, Yeah. And I think it was us realizing, hey, we're in a massive transition. I would even say there was trust at stake of leadership. How are we going to move forward? And are we really going to stay true to who we say we are? And are we going to conduct ourselves in this manner? Is this really true? And so we knew that we needed to really just focus in on that and put a lot of intentional effort to it. And we have over this past little season of time, really focused heavily on how to get this common language that we're trying to create, which
Yep.
values and culture all create that for us, right? And how do we make it more than language? How do we make it a reality in what we experience day to day? And so that was what really made us, we saw the gap between what we're saying and what we aspire to and what we're
Mm-hmm.
actually. And so we
Gosh.
want to close that gap. We
Yeah.
want to narrow the gap and close that gap. So
Yeah.
that was a big thing for us. And we knew that it's not just going to happen magically. It's not going to happen because we want
we
to.
hope it does. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. A friend of mine says hope is not a strategy. And so,
That's right. That's right.
Well,
and I was gonna highlight that because I think that's one of the things that I have so appreciated in getting to know you and the rest of the leadership and the culture team that you've built is there's a humility, there's a posture of we don't know what we don't know. Like,
yeah.
and being intentional to say, gosh, we've defined this language, we know what we aspire to, but
Right.
we're not going to assume it's just caught. We're not going to assume just telling it in one staff meeting is going to take care of it. And, the complexity of 4 locations, 200 staff members, like in multiple office environments. There's just a complexity as the organization is growing that makes that much harder. It's like we can have all the best intentions in the world, but unless we're being more purposeful about building the systems that reinforce that, best laid plans, right? It's so, a key part of, so coming in and being able to work with you guys again, that's one of the things I appreciated was just the humility to say, first of all, it wasn't broken. Like, from the outsider coming in, the culture wasn't broken. There was good momentum, right? New leader, new era. Like when I came in to start working with you, we're, gotten through COVID, which was, craziness for everybody. You were experiencing that positive momentum in overall like growth and mission and so forth. So it wasn't broken, but there was an acknowledgement of, hey, but we need to have a good, healthy understanding of where we are so we can keep building, keep leaning into who we are at our best. And so, we did what we do in the lead culture framework. We start with the assess phase where we survey the entire staff. We want to get their input on what they're experiencing in the culture. And this is a vulnerable place for a lot of leaders. It's like, do we really want to know? Do we have to know? I already think I know, what everybody's going to say. And so I'd love to hear just what you remember from that first round of surveying of anything that surprised you. What did that feel like as a leader? Because I think there's probably a lot of leaders listening who are like, yeah, I know we need to do it, but gosh, do I really want to see it? So tell us what that experience was like for you the first time you're like getting that full assessment.
I remember the phone call when you said, hey, here's the process that we walk through and we start with an assessment. And I was like, I felt that in my body. I felt, oh my goodness. Do we really want to know? Like you said, do we really want to know this? And will people really be honest with us? And that was 2 different things. And so it is a humbling experience to sit here and just open up kind of, for you to speak freely to some pretty important things. And it makes you go, hey, I have to pre-decide how I'm going to respond to this, in my own heart. And that for me was a little bit of a journey. Fortunately, I had some time to go through it and process through it. But when the results came back, the other thing, before I get to the results, when we were going through that process and encouraging everybody to take it, we're saying, hey, this is completely anonymous. And people are like, well, really? It's really completely anonymous? I mean, like,
they don't. They often don't believe us when we say that.
Exactly. And I was like, it really is. It's truly anonymous. We're not going to try to figure out who said what. It doesn't really matter who said what in the sense of driving down to the individual person. What we're looking for are themes or, any kind of patterns of response from people. And what was beautiful about it is when I went into this assess process, I thought, I think I know what's going to come out in this assessment.
Sure.
And I was wrong on a lot of fronts. There were things that didn't come out that I thought would, and things that did come out that I didn't know was there, or we didn't know was there. And but it was so helpful for us in the sense
Mm-hmm.
of, I remember, and you may remember this, but when we did that first assessment, we're like, somebody's really angry in our
Mm-hmm.
organization. Their
Mm-hmm.
response were sharp. And but I remember sitting there listening to some of these things and reading them and going, we need to know that.
Right.
As much as we don't want that to be true,
That's right.
for that individual, it is true. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, and just saying we can change that, I think, was the other thing to go. It's not a indictment forever. It's
That's right.
something that we can
That's right.
be purposeful about changing. And so the assessment for me, after I went through my own internal gymnastics about it, and came out the other side, was like, man, this is a real gift to us,
Yeah.
as an organization and as leadership of this organization. So, and identifying some key things that we can move forward in. And
Yeah.
there was also surprises of things that I thought weren't as good as the assessment showed that they were. So it
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit
Yeah.
of both hey, the realities are, some things aren't as good as I think they are, and some things are better than I would have assumed. And
Yeah.
so, and I went into it thinking I had a pretty good grasp on it, but
Yeah.
I learned a lot, um, for
Through that.
that first assessment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that
So,
you acknowledge that. And thanks for your honesty in that, Randy, because I think, and I tell leaders this all the time, it's never as good as we think it is, because we're
right.
having an experience of the culture and we have a lot of influence and agency over what we're experiencing. So we generally will perceive it a bit better than it might be perceived throughout the organization. I love that you also, highlighted there were some things that were better than you thought, and I find that a lot, that there's some things that
Yeah.
pleasantly surprise us. We're like, oh wait, oh
Yeah.
good, right? And you don't want to
Yeah.
miss that, right? Because we want to celebrate that, and then also that awareness of, gosh, I didn't know that that was the experience, but I need to know that, and I loved your posture there around, I needed to know that because I do
Yeah.
actually have agency to help change that. Like
Right.
I can do something with that if I know it. If I
For
never
sure.
know it, then it's festering in the culture and
Right.
probably creating more harm that I'm unaware of as a leader.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful, but it's vulnerable. So I appreciate that you even
It is.
talked about, like, hey, I had to wrestle through this, because it does take
Yeah.
some self-leadership,
Yeah.
to, because good grief, I haven't met a leader who doesn't want their team to be thriving. Like, I just,
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't work with organizations like that if they even exist. But I think
Yeah.
most leaders want their teams to be thriving. Like, we want our
Yes.
people loving the work that they do. And so it's
For sure.
really hard to, like, get some data that tells you, oh, maybe they're
Maybe they're
not
not.
doing great over here.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't as good as I thought. So anyway, I appreciate your vulnerability and
Yeah.
your honesty in that, because I think every one of us is going to wrestle with that to some degree. But
Yeah.
the
I
power
heard
of
it
it
said.
is it does, we can do something with the information we have.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I heard somebody say one time, through assessments, whether it's a speaker assessment, if you do a workshop somewhere, or a staff assessment, or whatever the assessment is, some people are going to make you think you're the devil, and some people are going to make you think you're Jesus. And the reality is, you're probably somewhere in the middle of all that.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
And
Yep.
so,
Yeah.
be encouraged. You're
Yes.
not the devil, but also know you're not Jesus either. So,
That's right. That's right. That's right. I love it. All right. One of the things we did, and this is part of the normal lead culture process, but we assembled a culture team to work through it, to be part of that sounding board in helping us assess, define, build the culture we aspire to. I'd love to hear from you just what that team has been like for you, what's been helpful. Where have they offered perspective that maybe you didn't have? Because one of the things that we always coach on is build a team of people from throughout the organization at different levels of the hierarchy.
yeah.
So maybe I'd love for you to just speak to the culture team and
Yeah.
what that experience has been like.
Yeah. So with who we are as a multicultural church, um, it was important for us to have a multicultural team,
Yep.
obviously, to represent that, but also just through your coaching and direction on how to put this team together, we definitely looked at, we had our most tenured person on our staff, and we had our newest staff member actually on this team,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and then everything in between. And we wanted to make sure that we had age demographic representation from the younger and the older staff
Yep.
members, the newer staff members. And for me, it's been hugely enriching to just hear the different perspectives. Even if we don't do anything with it, we at least know it. And
That's right.
I think the thing that they have brought to the table is, I remember one day we were talking about our employee journey grid.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about our onboarding process. And one person thought the onboarding was good, but our newest staff member said, that was not my experience.
Yeah.
That's not what I actually experienced.
Yeah.
Here's what I actually experienced. And it was a safe environment for them to actually speak up, because nobody's attacking anything. We're talking about realities of what is and what happened. And so, but it really motivated us to really take a stronger look at that process and make sure that, again, this onboarding process in this case was what we hope it to be,
Yeah.
what our
Yeah.
intentions were from the very beginning. Nobody intended for this person to not have a good experience, but
Yeah.
they had not had one. And so I think that perspective, different, the tenure in the organization definitely brought us some perspectives that we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And, also it's kind of fun with the team that you put together when you can get in a room where we're saying, hey, we all want to do this well. We just come from so many different points of view.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of laughter and enjoyment in that process. But
They're a fun
so
team.
they're really fun. They're fun people just in general, but just really dedicated. And so, that team has brought huge amounts of perspective for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I love about it, and I see this happen in all the organizations that we get to partner with, but, for the culture team that we assemble, it's an extra responsibility. It's not on any of their job descriptions. It's really an invite to be a part of this team for a season. And what I love about it is they have such deep commitment to it, because we're having some hard conversations in there, right? Like we're getting into, all the different things we see in the survey. We're having the honest conversations about the intention of the system was this, but the experience that I had with this, with that process was this. And so there's just a willingness to have some really important conversations, because everybody's there saying, we want this to be the best place to work. We want this to be such an amazing experience and an amazing people, so that we are giving our gifts to such a critical mission. We want to remove any obstacle we can for people to engage in a really meaningful way. So they're all there going above and beyond to make that happen. And when they get comfortable and willing to just be honest with each other, just the power of the conversations that happens in the room. And then they all become champions. They all become advocates for this in their respective, ministry areas and departments.
And I think some of them have discovered they didn't know they had such a passion and a burden and a conviction about culture. And being part of this team, they go, whoa, like I've watched some of our team members make major decisions on what they get involved in, so that they preserve this extra time. As you're saying, it's not a part of their job description, so it's extra work for them, but they're making sure that they preserve space to give the work that's needed. So that's been kind of a unexpected but fun, little outcome that we've seen from this team.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
It's been really fun.
Well, and I think why this matters so much, because I'll have a lot of leaders say, well, shouldn't the executive team just do this work or whatever? And again, it takes a lot more effort. You're the leader of the culture team at Victory, and it takes extra effort right now. We've been spending the last 2 weeks figuring out my next on-site visit, and between your schedules, my schedules, it's like, it'll be 2028 before we get this on the
exactly.
calendar. Not really, but
Yeah,
it takes work. My point being
it
is
does.
that you're assembling this cross-functional team that's going to come together to give energy and effort to this. And it would be simpler to maybe pick an executive team or some other leadership team to just do it. But then what happens when you build this culture team that's from team members throughout the organization? You now have people who are advocates and champions of what we look like at our best, who we are, and how we work together. That's even just hard to quantify the impact of that. But to hear you say they're devoted to their time in this group, means they're taking it really serious.
Yeah, they are. And I think the other thing that it does throughout the organization is the rest of the team feels represented in these discussions, and they feel like, what it's like where we live day to day. And so you're bringing that perspective. And I think what we have seen, it's the credibility. So when we put something forward, we're seeing the adoption of things that we're putting forward happen pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because, honestly, it's not coming from the executive team only.
Yeah. Yep.
Obviously, we have to get it up through the executive team.
Yeah, it's not absent of their input or voice, but yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then we make whatever adjustments we need to make, and then we can roll some things out. And we've just seen the absorption of that and the integration. I think that's really what I would say when we come to our values is we want to see them fully integrated into our day-to-day function. And we're starting to see that more and more. So.
Well, and they bring ideas, I'm thinking of, you guys call your values your check values. And then the little check value cards where, and that was one of the things that the team came up with was this, little card that you've been checked. And
you've been checked.
It's, where you can highlight a value and you can hand it to another coworker to say, to celebrate seeing a value in action. Am I explaining that correctly?
Yes. And it's really fun to watch people light up when they get a little piece of paper that says, hey, somebody saw this in me. And they literally light up, and
I love it.
They're all over their desks and stuff like that. And it's like, you see them taped to, computer monitors, and they don't throw them away.
I love that.
They keep them, and it just reminds them. And really on days when you're discouraged, you can look over and say, hey, it's not all bad.
Yep. And when another peer is doing that, I mean, again, it is meaningful from leadership, but if it were only coming from leadership, it would not have the same value as it coming from your peers, and coming from, throughout the organization. So that's just one of the many ideas that the culture team has come up with and ways that you guys have infused that. I could probably go down a rabbit trail because you guys have done such a good job in other ways that you've integrated the values. I like how you said that, the values, the integration of the values. And I would say the power of the culture team has been the acceleration of that integration as well. But I need to move us forward because I'm like, I could keep talking. I want to fast forward because the beauty of having spent, I think, about 18 months now with you guys is we did the survey at the beginning, and then we worked the whole framework. We worked the process, assess, define, build, equip, commit, and we came back and we did the survey a year later. So I would love to just hear, what did you learn this time around? We're fresh off the heels of that second round of the survey. What did you learn? What were some of your observations and takeaways from having a full year of the work and seeing the second survey?
Yeah, well, going into the second survey, I was not nearly as nervous about that one. I was like, I'm actually looking forward to this one. So,
right.
It, the first one gives you baseline, kind of some baseline pieces to look at, and then I'm now starting to look forward to us doing our surveys because then we can hold them up next to each other.
That's
and go, where are we progressing? Where are we not progressing? Where have we gone backwards? And sometimes we have a few things. And so what's standing out and what are people actually noticing more than what they used to notice?
That's
and that to me is been one of the big takeaways is going what people are actually saying on the things that we're doing well. It's not just, we do worship well or we do this well. It's more like it's getting more into them expressing that we do our values well, a value. We will have hard conversations or we will do whatever the case may be. And I think that's been the beauty of that ongoing assessment, annual assessment. And so I look forward to it now. And it also helped us put this in front of our key leadership teams. We did our executive advance, and we were able to put in front of them last year's results and this year's results. And because that whole team was a part of helping move that forward. And so it gave us an opportunity to see where we had improved and also what was new. What was there anything new starting to pop up? And so that was very, very helpful for us. And it's not nearly as anxious this time. And there wasn't somebody who was so angry this time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and without having all of the info right in front of me, I mean, positive direction overall, the number of engaged employees, et cetera, all of that went up and to the right, which was really fun to see. One of the things that I loved about when we pulled the culture team together, we reviewed the survey results, and it was interesting because, in the lead culture framework, we do that. It's built as a circle because you want to keep working it, right? So we were coming back to the assess phase and got the survey, had the data. And one of the things that stood out to me is there's one of the core initiatives for you guys as a church. We didn't see as much language the second time around as we saw the first year.
Right.
But here's what I loved about that, because it was such good intel, because the first year this was a high priority and there was a lot of forward-facing language about this core initiative. Well, we had assumed it was in the water, and because of the work you all were doing, and this was even beyond the culture team, it wasn't that it wasn't in the water, but it had become less of and you correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but we assumed it was more baked in than maybe it was, and the survey surfaced for us. Oh, we've got to be talking about this more. We can't assume that everybody knows it. Is that add on to that, Randy?
No, that was one of the great insights for me as well, to just come back and say, hey, a core initiative, because oftentimes organizations were moving so fast that we do this core initiative and then we move on to the next thing. And we don't talk about it anymore because we think it's, as you said, we think it's baked into the culture, and it wasn't. And that was very, very helpful. In fact, when we were at our executive advance, that was one of the things we really talked about. Hey, this was, and it still is a core initiative for us. It's just not, we're just not talking about it as much. So it really inspired a lot of really good conversation around it to go, hey, what do we do? How do we need to keep putting this forward or whatever?
And it wasn't that it was a problem. It was more of oh, wait, this isn't as top of mind as we would like it to be.
Right. And I think it showed a pattern for us, though. For us as an organization, we go, we push hard in these initiatives, and then we move on to the next. We just don't talk about it. And how do we talk about the things that are most important to us on an ongoing basis without it having to take up so much space? But as we look to other initiatives. So I think it showed a pattern to us of our own organizational behavior, if you will.
Yeah. And I saw that as really positive, in that it would have been just off your radar, but because of doing the survey and just look, having that rhythm of what fell away, or what, or what peaked this year. And is that consistent with what we want, with our core initiatives and these other things. So it was I thought it was a really, really great insight, because it helped us basically define something we needed to elevate a little bit more. And we're and so it's tweaks, right? The thing I think about assessments is, first of all, in my opinion, assessments just give us information to help us get more curious and to ask better questions, right? So instead of being fearful of it or and again, it's personal. We're going to wrestle through all of those things. But by and large, I'd love for us to look at the assessment and go, okay, what is that telling me? And like you said, it sparked a conversation for your leadership team to go, okay, what do we need to pay attention to there?
Exactly.
And I think that's the power of assessments, is when we look at them like that, they're giving us data points, and then we just get more curious. We ask better questions, and it helps us define where we need to focus. So anyway, I love that y'all did it. And what would you say to a leader that think they have a good handle on their culture? They're like, I think I kind of know where we are. I think I feel good about assessing. Would you encourage them to do a survey? How would you encourage leaders that are like, I don't know if I want to, do I need to?
Yeah. I think first of all, I would encourage leaders to do them on a regular basis, because I think like I said a moment ago, I thought I had a grasp on certain things, and the reality was that wasn't true. But I would still move forward as a leader as though that was true, and which then makes it hard to lead the people forward, right? And so, and I think it cuts against your credibility when you're standing up and it's almost like you're tone deaf to something that's a reality.
That's good.
And so when you speak to it, it feels like they're out of touch with what's really happening. And they're not, that's not necessarily a criticism. That's a maybe sometimes just sadness going, I wish they weren't tone deaf to this, because this could change. This would make a big difference for us.
That's big.
So I would encourage leaders to do the assessments and see them as a gift, even the negative comments as a gift to you, that somebody is being honest enough and caring enough within the organization and caring for the vision and caring for you even as a leader to say, hey, this isn't exactly what you think it is. I think if we can look at those assessments, see them more neutral than aggressive or, assertive, just see them as, hey, it's neutral. It's not good or bad. It just is.
Just information.
Just information. And like you said, let's get curious about the information, and not, well, why would they say that? Or what would, what would make, let's not get defensive. Let's get curious.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say to a leader that's on the fence when it comes to assessments.
Yeah, it's good.
And, the other thing is, if you do have a good grip on it, the assessment's going to show you that.
Right, right. There's nothing to lose in that.
Right. It's going to affirm it. And you're like, yeah, I saw that,
Yeah, that's good.
Accurately. So
that's good.
But I'm a big fan of it.
Love it. Well, Randy, let me ask you this to wrap us up. You, the culture team, the leadership have spent just good energy and effort on the culture work, especially these last 18 months. Obviously, it's been something you all value because it's been a part of who you are. But what are you most proud of from the work you've been doing?
I think the thing, one, I think I'm proud that we're doing the work. I think that's a meaningful thing to me, that we're actually doing it. And, for me, my own internal wants to do it faster than we can actually do it. But the fact that we're doing it, the other thing that I am most proud of is how our team has really, both our culture team as well as how it's integrated into our staff in general, have picked up the values and really celebrate them in each other, but also allow them to do what values do and guide them in day-to-day function in their departments and in their work. It feels like it's more than a sign on the wall to us.
Good.
And that to me is what I'm most proud of. And I'm proud of our team for not getting defensive and just shutting things down, but really just taking the information and like, hey, we can
learn and we can grow from this. Yeah.
We can grow. And so So yeah, I think those are
It's
some of the
good.
things I'm most.
Will
Yeah.
you share your fence analogy?
Yes. So, I think when we look at culture work, it can feel daunting sometimes because it's a lot. I mean, it is a
Yeah,
lot to think of, and you're thinking of it all the time. It's a very forefront thought in a lot of our minds, and the impact of culture is so. It's impacting everything you do, whether you mean for it to be or not.
that's right.
Um, and um, so I think when you start looking at the culture and you go, man, there's so many things that we need to address, or so many things that we need to work on. It's like for me, I grew up in the country, and so we built fences around pastures and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. I remember as a kid thinking, I'm going to die out here building this fence. It's so long, And but if we're only looking forward and never taking time, which the assessments help us take the moment to look back,
Mm-hmm.
I can look back and see how much fence we have built,
Yeah,
which encourages me for the things that I'm looking ahead
that's
to.
really good.
So I think that's really what we get to do, and
Yeah,
these assessments actually are a part of that help us see. No,
where
we're
we've
making
come.
great progress.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're making
yeah.
great progress. And
Yeah,
it's
and you guys
good.
you've made such good progress, and obviously we're building on a great foundation anyway.
Yeah,
But it's really fun to just be a part of it and get a little glimpse into all the good work y'all
yeah.
are doing. So good.
Well, thank you. I think one thing I want to go back and say this is a thing I'm proud of as well. Good is not standing out as much as bad anymore, and what I mean
Mm.
by that, good used to be the thing that would stand out.
Hmm.
Now, good is the normal and the bad thing,
Ooh. Yep.
right? And so
Yep.
now we go, hey, that doesn't line up to our culture.
That's right.
And so it's easier for us to see those things. Whereas a year and a half ago,
Wasn't as
you
obvious.
didn't notice it much. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so,
I love that. That's fun. Yeah.
yeah, it,
Yep. Super good. Randy, if people want to connect with you or learn more about Victory, where can they find more information?
yeah. Well, you can learn more about Victory at victoryatl.com. That's our website. And if you want to jump on one of our services there, you can. We do stream our services. But also for me, you can reach me at by email at rcochran@victoryatl.com.
Awesome. And we'll put all of that in the show
I'd love
notes,
to hear. Yeah,
and so people can connect or reach out. But Randy, thank you for just your heart and passion for leading this work well, and
yes,
just leading faithfully through it. It's really fun to be a part of, and you guys have done really, really good work. So thanks for sharing with us today and encouraging
thank you.
us in that.
Absolutely, absolutely,
So good.
absolutely. Thank you, Jenny.
Well, friends, are you a culture champion like Randy and you're trying to figure out what your next step looks like? I want to encourage you, if you are interested in the survey, shoot me an email, jenny@getforesight.com, and we will get you info about how you can do a survey with your team and start that process. And then I also want to make sure you are in our Lead Culture Network. We created a space, it's brand new, for leaders like you who care deeply about building thriving and unstoppable teams. Randy's one of my friends in the network with me, and it's a place where great leaders who care about culture are gathering. We're doing monthly trainings where I'm doing live trainings on topics relevant to things that are impacting your culture. We do live Q&A and hot seats where you can bring your question or your challenge, and myself and our coaches are going to help coach you through that in real time. I have the whole Lead Culture course library. So there's a whole library of courses that help you with working through the Lead Culture framework. We've got the Leadership Institute course, which is our courses for leadership development, and then just the community of culture champions. So if you have not already jumped into that, you guys, you want to join us before the end of the year, because you can get in at the founding member rate of only $49 a month. So less than $600 a month to purposely invest in your culture and get coaching from me and my team to help you do that well. So follow the link in the show notes. Check that out. We would love to see you in the network. But I hope this episode today was helpful for you. Just kind of gives you an idea of why this work matters so much, helps you understand the significance of being intentional to assess your culture and actually take action on some of the things you're hearing. Guys, I am grateful that you value the sacred work of leadership, that you value the significance of stewarding your teams. And that's what we want to help you do here at the Foresight Group. That's what we want to do through the podcast, through the network. So let us know what you thought of this episode. Share it with a friend. Maybe you and your team have been talking about, hey, should we do a survey? Well, this is the right episode to send to them to help hear more about how a team like Randy's has been putting it into practice. And then let us know how we can serve you better. Shoot us an email at podcast@getforesight.com so we can make sure we're equipping you with all the things you need to lead well. So keep leading well, and we will see you next week.